The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland, Radoslav Sikorski, believes that Russia will remain a threat to European security as long as it led by dictator Putin. European countries must prepare for possible Russian aggression.
We cannot be certain about what our large neighbor, Russia, will do as long as Putin is in charge. Today, Russia is a bloody dictatorship with more political prisoners than in the collapsed Soviet Union, and it has built an imperial ideology that brainwashes its people. Therefore, Russia, under this leadership and with this state ideology, will remain a threat as long as it is under such leadership.
In 2025, Poland took a leading position in defense spending among NATO countries, allocating 4.7% of GDP. This includes billions of euros dedicated to purchasing aircraft, missiles, tanks and artillery. In comparison, Russia's defense spending in 2014 was less than 2% of GDP. Over the coming years, Poland plans to increase the size of its armed forces to 500,000 personnel and train millions of reservists.
We will try to have a model ready by the end of this year so that every adult male in Poland is trained in the event of war, ensuring that this reserve is truly comparable and adequate to potential threats.
According to Polish media, the government of Donald Tusk plans to launch short-term training programs for civilians with no military experience. This includes targeted courses to improve military skills. The initial plan is to prepare 100,000 people by the end of 2026, according to the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces.
The first goal of the training program is to improve the availability and quality of reservists. Currently, the Army has a large number of reservists, but their average age is already around 45. If conflict and pressure on Poland persist for an extended period, well-trained reservist resources will be essential to ensure they can operate alongside professional soldiers and the territorial defense forces. The second goal is even more important. We must prepare society for the effects of a crisis, even if not everyone undergoes military training. Wisław Kukula, Chief of the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces, in an interview with Politico.
Ministers of defense from Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania have suggested that if a ceasefire occurs in Ukraine, Russia may redeploy troops to the northeastern flank of NATO. The Kremlin has already developed plans to ramp up military production and increase the number of troops in border areas. Additionally, according to the Federal Intelligence Service of Germany, by 2026, the Russian military is expected to increase to 1.5 million servicemen. Russia sees itself in a systemic conflict with the West and is preparing for a major war with NATO, according to the Bundeswehr. Minister of Defense of Estonia, Hanno Pevkur, believes that of the 600,000 Russian soldiers currently engaged in combat, 300,000 could be redeployed.
These people will not return to different regions of Russia to harvest corn or do other work, because the salaries they earn in the military are 5 to 10 times higher than what they could earn in their home cities. We all understand that once the war in Ukraine stops, Russia will quickly redistribute its forces. This means that the threat level will increase significantly. Hanno Pevkur, Minister of Defense of Estonia, in comment to the Financial Times.
Currently, the Baltic states are heavily reliant on their allies. Estonia is supported by British forces, which can be deployed to the country in a short time. Lithuania is backed by German military forces, which will be stationed in the country in the coming month. Latvia is supported by multinational forces under Canadian leadership. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavets, Kristina Dombrovska, UATV News.
In February 2025, the Latvian Saeima approved amendments in the first reading that would ban organized tourist trips for Latvian citizens to Russia and Belarus. Then, on March 27th, the Saeima also passed a bill in the first reading prohibiting certain government officials from traveling to these countries. Notably, this restriction also applies to transit through Russian and Belarusian territory. The chairman of the Seima's National Security Committee emphasized that traveling to these countries under current circumstances is extremely dangerous. Yet not everyone fully realizes the risks.
It is no secret that Russia and Belarus are actively conducting intelligence operations against Latvia, and any Latvian citizen crossing their borders could become a target for such activities. Ainars Lotkovskis, chairman of the same National Security Committee, in the commentary to Delphi.
On the same day, the Latvian Saeima granted the country's defense forces permission to shoot down Russian drones in Latvian airspace. Previously, the military and police could identify drones, track their routes, and monitor their altitude, but they were only authorized to bring them down in cases of a direct threat. Two recent incidents changed this policy. On January 13, 2025, Latvian Civil Aviation Agency reported multiple UAVs over Riga airport. Earlier, in 2024, a Russian drone crossed the border from Russia and crashed in Latvia.
We should be prepared for different kind of risks. That's why Europe now has on their own agenda security and defense, which never was an issue like 2-3 years ago.
According to analysts from the Center for European Policy Analysis, Russia's activities in the Baltic states go beyond sabotage and propaganda. Moscow is also engaged in reconnaissance and testing vulnerabilities across various sectors.
Russia tests the scope of its potential impact on Western aligned countries, the reactions of the authorities and institutions, and the resilience of their societies, which it pollutes daily with hefty helpings of disinformation. From a report by the Center for European Policy Analysis on the organization's website.
On March 18th, the defense ministers of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland announced their intention to withdraw from the Ottawa Convention, which prohibits the use, storage, and production of anti-personnel mines. All EU member states are part of the convention, but key global powers such as China, Russia, the US, India, and Pakistan have never joined.
With this decision, we are sending a clear message: our countries are prepared and can use every necessary measure to defend our territory and freedom. Despite our withdrawal, we will remain committed to international humanitarian law, including the protection of civilians during an armed conflict. Our nations will continue to uphold these principles while addressing our security needs. From the joint statement of the Ministers of Defense of Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Poland. The situation at the border is serious. I am referring to both the Polish-Belarusian and Polish-Russian borders. We have concerns bordering on certainty that Belarus is following Russia's lead. Whatever Putin says, Lukashenko will agree. Remember where the initial invasion of Ukraine was launched from? From Belarus. We currently do not have anti-personnel mines, but we have the capability to produce them.
Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna confirmed that his ministry is already working on the necessary legal framework for exiting the Ottawa Convention. National parliaments in all 4 countries will make the final decision on withdrawal. According to the Estonian Foreign Minister, it is unfair to renounce weapons that Russia is prepared to use against them.
Right now, we are not planning to deploy mines. This applies to both anti-tank and anti-personnel mines. However, we do need them. They are stored in our warehouses, and if a crisis arises and a real military threat emerges, additional measures will be taken at the border. Andris Spruds, Defense Minister of Latvia, in a commentary to Current Time.
Meanwhile, Estonian Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur has stated that Tallinn currently has no plans to produce, stockpile, or use anti-personnel mines. Reported by Kristina Dombrovska, UATV News.